My name is Trey, the bipolar bear, and you are listening to the Happy Earth Market podcast.
Awesome.
Are you ready, babe?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. Well, welcome to Happy Earth Market podcast. This show is brought to you by Happy Earth Market, of course. This show is brought to you by Love Through Living. This show is also brought to you by Natural Awakening, Greater Las Vegas edition. Check them out for all our events. And then it's also sponsored by Bearlanders.com and Sunrise Coffee and Arizona Indian Jewelry. All right. Well, with that said, welcome to Happy Earth Market podcast. I'm Nathan.
I'm Sam.
And in the studio we have
Trey.
What's up, Trey?
What's happening? Lovely. I'm happy to be here.
We're happy to have you here.
Yes, indeed. Yes,
yeah, I'm glad. Well, I'm not glad. So you had something canceled, so you got to be here a little earlier. So
yes,
but that was money.
Yeah. Well, no. It wasn't money. It was giving, and so.
Oh, I see.
I was gonna finish up a project with someone, and they fell kind of under the weather, and they need to take care of themselves rather than the project. So I'm all for that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Self-care is needed in the world today.
Absolutely.
People do not take care of themselves. They work themselves until they get to exhaustion, and then they push right past that and keep working.
Yes, indeed.
A little known fact about it, second hardest working country in the world, United States.
What's the first?
China.
That makes sense.
So everybody's all up in arms about their human rights. Like, really, we work harder than like the countries that make our stuff, except for China.
Wow.
Crazy. So let's get this interview started.
All right.
Mr. Trey. What's your real name? So I remember when I first met you, you introduced me. You introduced yourself as Matthew, but then you said, "No, I'm just kidding. I'm Trey. You can call me Trey." And so I got confused.
Yeah. So here. Let me explain. So my legal name, Matthew Alexander. As a young kid in the '80s, I did not think that it fit me well to describe who I was and kind of my swagger and all that. Matthew Alexander was presidential, and it was kind of out of touch with who I thought that I was.
Sure.
So by age 14, I entered a program created by about 7 different adults in the community in Anchorage, Alaska, where I'm from. And it's called Rites of Passage. It was somewhat like the Rites of Passage that they do in other countries, where you go from a boy to being a man.
Okay.
And part of my process was actually changing my name to an acronym that meant something. Go ahead.
Go ahead, no.
Yeah, so the actual T.R.E. stands for Truthful, Righteous Excellence. So it gave me something to look forward to, as well as to hold myself accountable to when living my life.
So what is it?
Truthful. Righteous. And then the last one is excellence.
Sounds like a good title.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like the title of the show.
Yeah. That's why I wanted to write it down.
Rites of Passage was
pretty neat.
This was in Anchorage, Alaska.
This is in Anchorage, Alaska.
And that's the largest city in Alaska. It's pretty diverse there, or?
It is extremely diverse. I want to say 3 years ago, it was the #1 most diverse. I'm sorry, the community of Mountain View, which is in Anchorage,
sure,
was the most diverse city in the country.
Oh wow, really?
Wow.
Yep. You'd be surprised going into Anchorage just how many different nationalities and how mixed everything is up there.
It does surprise me because it's such a cold place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, white people love the cold. Like nobody else does.
That's true. I don't like it though. But
I don't know that anybody loves the cold. They just find things to do, like get out in it and find things to do to keep them warm on the inside with joy.
What do you do for fun in Alaska?
Everything. So Alaska is a place, especially during the summer, like if we're talking about the summer solstice, there are no activities that you can't do. It's California weather for one really long day. Like over 24 hours, the sun is up, so you can play basketball, at 3 a.m.
So is that the day everybody's out?
That is
like literally
the
all day.
Absolutely.
Kind of like a holiday over there where everybody's just outside.
Lots of parties.
24 hours.
Yeah, because if your parents say come home when the street lights come on,
they never come on.
They never come on. That seems like a good luxury to have.
That's really funny.
Yeah, and so it's a traumatic. It's a PTSD. Like it's an abusive relationship that people psychologically get into. 9 months of cold and darkness, and probably a good 3 weeks of really beautiful sunshine.
Oh, I see.
For where you can't get it anywhere else like that.
Right.
No, I understand. We lived in the Pacific Northwest, but the whole summer there is like worth living there through that rain.
Right.
The rest of the year, it's great.
Yeah.
But not as severe as that. I'm just saying I kind of get what you're saying.
Yeah, and I've lived in the Pacific Northwest as well. I lived in Tacoma. I lived.
Oh, so did we.
Lakewood. I've lived in Renton. I lived in.
We lived in Lakewood as well.
Yeah. So you already know.
Yeah.
That's where I went to college. That is actually Bates Technical College.
Okay, where's that at?
It is off. It's downtown.
Downtown Tacoma.
Okay. Where the hills are, where you're just like a lot of bumps in the road and all that.
Yeah, we know what you mean.
Yeah.
Tacoma's a weird spot, man. It really is. Like,
it is.
It's not even Seattle light. It's a totally different spot than Seattle.
It really truly is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You could be like, it's just weird, that place.
So you moved from Alaska to the Northwest. So what's your timeline as far as kids go? How many siblings do you have?
Oh, okay. The kids. When you say kids, I had
your
another.
Kid time.
Yeah.
That chapter in your life.
So I have 3 siblings, if we're talking about blood specifically.
Okay.
So I have a half brother, and then I have another half brother, and then I have a full blood brother.
Okay.
So family-wise, I stopped counting. If you're talking about extended family, because one of the great things about Alaska is the culture is as if everyone is on an island, right? So it's so small and so enclosed that everyone knows everyone else's business. And everybody knows each other.
And everybody's family then at that point.
Yeah, and so I won't say that everybody gets along. What I will say is you don't go to the store and not see somebody that you know.
Right.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Or that you went to school with, or that you
something.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Getting ready, but even if you think as deep as I'm gonna put some clothes on and go to the store. Running into somebody that hasn't seen you in five years or whatever. It's a little bit of a different thing here in Vegas. Like I love that nobody knows who I am to some extent.
That won't last forever.
And and so I just get dressed with what's ever the closest to me. Like,
right. You don't have to worry about it.
Right.
Take a little bit more freedom here.
Exactly.
It sounds like.
Exactly. There were some interesting things about being young there, growing up in Anchorage. Like there was a title for dressing in such a way that was not congruent, and what people used to call us, or we called each other, was you are a perpetrator. If you're wearing like a Nike hat and Adidas shoes, you are perpetrating a fraud. Like it.
Oh, okay.
That's lame.
It was look, the crazy. It's terrible because it just. You felt so judged.
Yeah.
When you're trying to get ready for school, like the first day of school.
Poser.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The first day of school was like an exhibition. Like it was really deep.
I think that's probably everywhere though.
Yeah.
It is.
Kids are jerks that way to each other. They just are.
But everybody in Alaska has money though.
Everybody in Alaska has access to resources. I don't know about money.
So what does that mean?
That means there's a lot of poor people there as well.
Is there a homeless population there?
There is a homeless population there as well. And so it seems just as crazy or inane to me that there are homeless people here.
In the desert,
because it's the same extreme. It's just on the opposite, it's the polar opposite. So to be completely honest, when I came to Vegas, it didn't dawn on me that there were going to be homeless people here. And of course, if there's people that live in homes, there's going to be people that don't. You know what I mean? And when I heard about the tunnels and all that, I was just like...
Yeah, the tunnels are on another level.
I was just... It touched me in a place where I was like, dang, I don't even know that I feel comfortable with being privileged in that I have a place to sleep and I have food to eat and I have... My personal story is living in a two-parent household with probably about 7 to 9 adults that my parents intentionally created relationships with so that their kids would have somebody to go to talk about those things that you don't want to talk about with your parents.
That's interesting and neat.
Yeah. So that whole rites of passage thing was more of a more of an intentional kind of like quinceañeras for young ladies who are 14 and of Hispanic descent. That community-wide recognition of a passage from boy to man for myself.
Right.
So I had a mentor. We went out.
Is this when you became T.R.E?
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
What is this exactly? Is this something that your family created, or is this a religion, or what is this that you're describing, please?
So what I'm describing is best said as a very intentional effort in the African American community inside of Anchorage, Alaska, to make sure that the young people that grew up had a sense of confidence and self-worth that was not easily dissipated by the negative images that they would see in the media about themselves, by the videos, by the music that was constantly going into their brains, using the N-word and using profanity as a way to constantly communicate. Well, we know at this point, especially with science, what's happening if you're listening to that on a daily basis.
Right.
It's the opposite of what's happening if you're listening to inspirational, motivational, intellectual conversation.
Right, it forms your brain.
Exactly. So
especially music.
Into a false truth.
And I hate to say that because I love music and I love that kind of music. It's great, but there's no doubt that the more that you pump that into somebody's head, I'll use an analogy. It's the reason why a lot of skinheads have bands,
right?
Because they can get you to sing a song over and over and over again, and it becomes a brainwashing tool,
right? And the reality is, there are skinheads, right? But there are people who are so unaware, the way that I was unaware of the homeless people in the tunnels.
Yeah.
Real, true lives being lost on a continue. So there are people who are truly unaware of how damaging it is to express in a certain way if the expression itself is going to be a repetitive message in a child's brain,
right,
or in an adolescence, or you see what I'm saying?
Right.
So there are those that start off with bad intentions, and then there are those that contribute to the negative aspect, but not
without awareness.
Without that intention.
They're just trying to make money or whatever. And then do you think that so I want to get back to this rites of passage thing, but I also want to ask, do you think that over time, so let's say you take Little Bookcase from the Little Bookcase, the rapper from wherever, and he perpetuates that because he knows he's going to make $1. Now he has all these dollars. Do you think there's a place where he says, "Oh shit, look what I did"?
No, I don't think that rappers, which are different from hip hop artists,
absolutely,
I don't think that rappers are held accountable to the level that they should be. But that's in the context of it takes a village.
Okay. So
I was raised with that context.
That.
So kind of looping back to rites of passage.
Thank you.
It takes a village. So first of all,
it's true. It's absolutely true.
So being the oldest sibling, being the first, being when my parents were the most strict. That was me. That was what I was put through. So there was a sense of responsibility and being the older brother to the majority of people that I spoke to.
Okay.
Really,
And that was you were told that was responsible. You were told that you were mentoring. No. Okay.
No. I decided that to step into T.R.E, to step into what my name meant, was going to mean to be exceptional in different ways.
Nice.
And life has shown up and given me the opportunity to be the best version of myself.
So what does this rites of passage entail, if you can?
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
If you can explain the whole
basically, it's based on the idea of young African Americans learning more than we started as slaves and now here we are. The way the media portrays that, right? So there is and has always been a history that was given to you in the textbooks.
Yeah.
And then a history that you only know because your parents and their parents passed it down.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So
oral history.
Oral history, right. And a lot of times in our culture, another thing that we did was we may not have been speaking, but we were singing while we were working, passing down messages. You know what I mean? If you look into Harriet Tubman and those giants that we stand on the shoulders of, they were extremely deliberate in communicating the message and why reading was so important. You know what I'm saying? So even when you look at today's society and you include everyone, there are alarming things that happen very, very quietly, such as phonics being gone and the look-see method coming in to replace. So when you look at how that then affects the ability to function in society, to make a living for yourself, for your family, things get really dicey and very emotionally charged very quickly without the perspective and the understanding of this is a phase, you know, and life is constantly changing. So there is an opportunity for hope and growth. So rites of passage was really there were the group of young men. There was a separate group of young women, and then there was actually a group that came before us. They were like the petri dish. Like,
are you guys all the same age about?
So the young boys and the young ladies we all knew each other and we went to the same school.
Sure.
Okay.
Same age. The older group though, they were college age.
Okay.
And they were they had their own version of rites of passage. We went to ours for our age group or age level.
Okay.
And then they actually, my parents and their friends, they all started with just the females. So at about age 10, when we would come together for Kwanzaa and things of that nature, anything we were doing in the community, my brothers, we would all have the pleasure of like sitting in the laps of these 20-year-old college students who are learning history about themselves and becoming powerful and
I love it.
Yeah. So
they're harnessing their mentorship power and you're looking up to them.
And we're looking up
seeking knowledge.
Right. And we're seeing these beautiful young women like learn. That's
super cool.
It was just, it was like a dream. And now, of course, I look at my life and I'm like, how do I communicate that? How do I take who I am and help someone else to learn some of the honor and some of the respect that I think is just implied when you meet someone.
Right.
You know, how do I talk about, or how do I teach eye contact and I honestly think I should teach people to hug. You know what I mean? Like, I think that things are so instant and microwave as far as the culture goes sometimes, that there's so much distance that to meet somebody who hugs is like, oh man. They automatically jump up on your friend list, like like the value of the person. And I'll speak for myself. Someone that hugs me, I'm like, okay, that's part of my tribe.
Yeah.
Because I up until they're part of my tribe, I have to figure out how to kind of
in your tribe.
You know, so yeah. It's something so simple, but it can change your vibration. Somebody's hug can change your vibration.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I know that.
Do you think the rites of passage or mentorship or fucking anything at this point in the United States is vital? Because I do. I think that that I think that's one of the things that's lost across the whole culture of America is just the kids are almost left to, as soon as they turn 18, it's just go into the workforce. You're a man now. There's nothing putting them into that, or nothing saying they're a man or a woman. Yeah, man or woman. You just go. You know what I'm saying? Like, at least for me, I had basic training, and I graduated that, and I felt super accomplished, and that was right after high school. And I killed myself to do it. You know what I mean? And so there's nothing there for anyone. There's no welcome into manhood as a society or womanhood, and I really feel like that's one of the things that, because any other small village would have something like that.
Here's the reality: graduation is supposed to have that vibe.
Sure,
right? So because I don't want to vilify society to the point where there's just, they're just thrown out there.
Right.
The issue, I think, really is what's going on in the home.
Sure.
Because what's going on in the home manifests at school.
Mm-hmm.
It manifests in the friend selection and the activities when you get with your friends.
Right.
Whether or not you're a leader or a follower comes from what you learn. And if you don't learn it from your parents or your whoever, then you start to kind of learn from your friends.
Well, that kind of goes back to what you said. It takes a tribe. And that's absolutely true, because humans, we imitate.
Right.
We imitate everything we see. It's just what we do in nature. That's how we've survived as long as we have.
Absolutely.
We used to watch animals and see how they did it.
Right.
So it's the same thing. And if you're talking about parents, it's fortunate that you had both parents in the household, and a lot of people don't have both parents in the household, and those family dynamics are just not there.
Yes.
And so at that point, the tribe that they're being raised by are their friends, their peers, who are being influenced by music and video games or whatever they're being influenced by. It's not the people in their family, the grown-ups, the mentors.
Well, sometimes
so the village is just a bunch of kids running each other and teaching each other.
What was that movie? Lord of the Flies.
Lord of the Flies. Yeah. And a lot of times it is, but I think that, like, for the past, I would honestly say since the end of the 70s, when coke hit real hard across the whole U.S., especially in cities.
Coke and crack.
Coke, crack, same thing. But what I'm saying is that somehow the responsibility of raising your kids just got taken away. That like, I remember telling somebody recently, like, your responsibility as a parent is to put a productive member of society into society so that they're not a bad person. You know what I mean? At least they can form all their judgments they want, but they know how to interact. They know how to, like you said, shake hands, and they know how to change their tire and all those things. And parents just aren't taking those teaching moments anymore. They're just not. The kids just stay in their room, you know what I mean? And that's not just this generation of children. We're like on the third generation, I think.
There's a couple things happening because I absolutely agree with you that it shows up in the way that the culture kind of mimics itself back onto, like, the media.
Yeah.
And so it's just kind of a repetitive cycle. But I do want to make the point that you can have a single parent and end up a well-rounded child if the single parent makes the decision to get with a few like-minded adults that will steer their kid correctly. Because as a child of divorce to some extent, right? So I had both parents until I was 19. So as far as I'm concerned, my parents were married, but
absolutely
they did divorce when I was 19, and so for me, I asked the question, like, I wonder how one parent just takes that whole job.
Right.
And when I look at the amount of adults that was available to me, and the fact that my parents made the decision to have an amicable divorce, and they're best friends now. You know what I'm saying?
That's cool.
So I think there's still, it's not even about a two-parent household. It's about the leader of the household, whatever that looks like, man, woman, whatever, deciding that they're going to find like-minded individuals to pour into the life of their child. Because the reality is, there is a particular feeling when you're standing up in the stands clapping because this little girl that is is a friend or is a friend's child just made the free throw that won the game.
Exactly.
You know what I'm there is no TV show, there is no book that can replace that feeling.
Yep, no, I know.
So
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. But like even just the household roles of teaching your kids table manners and not eating in front of the television. Like I remember my son's friends used to come over, and if they were over, time stopped.
They got to eat dinner.
We sat down at the table and we ate. And
Right.
like, this is crazy. I'm like, well, this is what we do because this is really as busy as we are.
Right.
Sometimes the only chance we get to do this, so we're gonna stop our day and we're gonna eat. And most families, if they do eat together, it's in front of the television. Like I just don't. I think that's been the biggest problem for a long time. Just Americans not raising their kids. They're just
not participating.
They're not participating in their kids' life. And I'm not talking about over hovering your kids at the baseball game. That is not what I'm talking about.
Right.
I'm talking about when you're working on something, your son's working on something.
Right.
When
you.
when you're cooking, your daughter or son's cooking with you. You know what I mean? Like and making them work around the house. Even if you have an apartment, they need to be doing stuff. You know what I mean?
They need to feel responsible for the collective.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I absolutely agree. We had chores when I was little. And,
chores are vital.
And what was said to us to some extent, and I'll paraphrase: if the house is not clean, you guys aren't going to leave the house. So
oh wow, that's a good one.
So we spent our time making sure that the house was clean, so that when we asked to go to the movies or we asked to go hang out with our friends, the response to our question would be, "Is the house clean?" Yeah. Okay. So all right, go ahead and go.
Yeah, I like
and
it.
my parents trusted after years that the house was going to be clean.
It was clean, right?
Because my mother in particular did not believe in getting off work and cleaning up after her kids or her husband. You know what I'm saying? Like,
good for her.
That has never been something that resonated with her. So
I like it.
So it built us up. And when it came to even family dinners, my mom took on, I want to say maybe a total of 8 kids, including us biologically, right? So 4 other kids. 4 other people from other families as her own to hold, basically mother them. So that means I have 2 older brothers and I have 1 older sister and I have 1 younger sister.
Wow.
And they all consider my mom their mom. They all lived with us.
Okay.
They've all been there, ups and downs.
No official capacity. They weren't like foster kids. They're just neighborhood kids.
No, they're just there.
Okay.
They just, they're just there.
I like it.
So once again, there's an example. If I had some older people around me, they're just there.
That gave a shit.
Yes.
More than just there, but actually people that cared about you.
Yeah. And so
that's neat.
Yeah, it was. Here's the thing about it, right? And so it's wonderful, it's great, and it isolates me.
Right.
And I don't spend too much time thinking about it, but the reality of that type of upbringing in 2018 is okay.
It's unique.
Yes.
It's unique for sure. It's not one I've heard yet.
Right.
So thank you for that new
perspective. Yeah, it takes all kinds.
Well, no, it's great. Yeah. No, it's really great.
And I mean that in a nice way.
I heard you mention it's Kwanzaa. So what is that?
Okay, so Kwanzaa is the celebration of African American history. It was developed by Marcus Garvey, who is like a juggernaut if you go into African American history, he stands out.
Okay.
So he stands out as one of the pioneers. And there's a lot of African American history that it's just not in the textbooks. It's not in any books except the really old person in the community that
knows the stories,
kept the books. You know what I'm saying? I had the amazing experience yesterday of looking through the only that I'm aware the only version or the only copy of a black comic book that features Toussaint L'Ouverture. So Toussaint L'Ouverture had a lot to do with the Haitian situation. I'll call it the Haitian situation. But the point is this comic book, and I have it in my bag. I can show you.
Oh, cool.
It's priceless to those who understand how much power comes from understanding who you are in racial history.
Sure.
Because understanding who you are can give you the power to be confident in yourself.
Today.
Yeah,
absolutely.
self-worth, right? Just from knowing that there were people like you back in the day who did something amazing, who created something amazing. They invented whatever. If you don't have that, then there can be almost like an open wound of, okay, so who am I? And what's to say that I can do anything great if I don't see examples
of
who look like me? Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I was so excited because when I think about, this is one of the reasons I even came to the Healthy
Earth Market. I
Healthy
like that too.
Earth Market.
Healthy Earth Market. that works.
Happy Earth Market. So it was to continue to search for people who had like minds and values, because the day that I decide I want to be a parent, then in my mind I have the responsibility to create what my parents created for me. You know what I'm saying?
Space where the community is there to help.
Exactly. And for me, deciding to have a child is the most important decision that I will ever make. I put it over marriage. That's my personal opinion.
No, it's a big decision. I wish more people took that decision more heavily.
Because it's a very big responsibility.
We didn't.
It is.
We didn't. It just happened.
Right.
But we took the responsibility once we had it very seriously.
Yeah. I am probably the most afraid and the most excited of that moment.
Both things, yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I do. I know exactly what you mean.
So I feel like every day of my life is like when I'm making decisions or I'm interacting with some people that had a different background. I look at it like this: if my child is to look to me and say, what did you choose to do, Dad? That's how I go about my life. You know what I'm saying? That's cool. When it comes to donating or giving to a cause or whatever, what did you choose to do, Dad? What did you do? You know what I'm saying?
You're right now being a good person for
the person that doesn't exist.
For the kid that doesn't exist yet.
Yes. Because I'm gonna be
weird, Trey.
I know.
It's cool, but weird.
I know,
man.
But here's the thing: I don't want to have any misunderstandings between how honest I'm willing to be with my children, especially if I have a girl, because that's just a nightmare. I think it could be right. Totally. So I need to get over that. I need to do some inner work. But
I'm glad we didn't have a daughter. Like, boys are hard because they're crazy.
Right.
But I wouldn't want to deal with a teenage girl. On two levels. I don't want to deal with the dudes coming around.
Right.
And I don't want to deal with their craziness.
Here's the thing. I have nieces.
Yeah.
And I have been responsible for them in my home. And there are great things about either gender.
No, I agree.
Period. And because I know that the moment that I make that decision to say yes to fatherhood, whoever Trey was is over. Right?
That's true. I wish more people thought
Trey
that way.
was is over, and now it becomes about this child.
Yeah, pride dies right there.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's my son recently got married, and
that's awesome.
And
Congratulations.
It is awesome, and he loves her, and it's been a strange experience for us.
Why strange?
Because we don't feel that old. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And we have a 21-year-old son, but because we have a 21-year-old son, and he's only 20 years younger than us, it just has always felt like we were kind of raised each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There was the three of us the whole time, and we had a very good dynamic, and we never really talked to him like he was a kid. It was always this. Right. So he functions on a much higher level than even most kids his age at 21.
That makes sense.
Anyhow, with that said, where was I? Our son recently got married, and fuck.
Don't know where you were going with this, but it's.
And he was like hurting for money because they paid their rent and they had nothing.
Right.
And that happens when you first start out.
Absolutely.
This money didn't go as far as I thought.
Right.
That kind of thing.
Right.
And I started just giving all his resources. And he's like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I'm like, look, well, you have a family now. Your pride's dead. What you feel about anything doesn't matter. You need to take care of her.
So you guys have 3 generations.
What do you mean?
Your son has a child? Is that
no, not yet.
Oh.
No. He won't.
Okay.
No.
You're talking about the wife.
Just the wife.
Okay.
And I say,
well,
I should have told him you're starting a family now. You know what I mean? Because there's no baby yet, but it's still a family. Still the two of them trying to start out and get going.
Yes, indeed.
And I was like, look, you got to do what you got to do. And because I'm like, look, you're in the military, I know, but you're private, so go get food stamps, go do this. And he hasn't done it yet, but like I was just telling him, if he had a baby, I'm sure it'd be different. But I don't know. There's no pride once you're trying to take care of somebody else.
Right. Yeah.
What's up?
You
don't think so?
I don't know.
Did I go way off the rail?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's okay.
It happens. It's a podcast.
Yeah, it's real. It's real. You know what I mean? This is what the centennials call IRL, in real life.
What the hell's a centennial?
A centennial is the next after the millennials. It's the centennials.
Oh. Are they born yet?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
They're just really little.
Can't keep up with these.
I don't care anymore. They try to name generations so fast.
Yeah.
So how old are you then?
So I am 36.
Okay, so you're right there with us.
He sounds so sad about
right
that.
there with us.
No, normally I don't answer the question with definitively. That's
Why?
where the sadness came. Ambiguity helps when you're trying not to be too well known.
Okay.
Why'd you come on this podcast, sir?
Because I had to let go of enjoying infamy.
Infamy?
Yes.
Like that? I mean, bad fame, or what? I don't understand.
Here's what I should say. I became very comfortable in not being known.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of surprises that can happen if you're not known, and you go up and you sing something, or you dance, or you speak intelligently, or you're whatever.
You're recognized.
Right. Right. So what has happened for me recently is the realization that what the world needs is way more important than me being comfortable with people knowing or not knowing whatever.
So what's the world need?
In my opinion? In my opinion, what the world needs is acceptance, love, and appreciation. That's what my answer would be to that question.
So how do we reach the acceptance part?
How do we reach the acceptance part? We would be moderate, like practicing moderation with the amount of things that we give our energy to.
Example.
There are supposedly there are politics. I don't know because I don't watch the news.
Yeah.
Supposedly there are politics, and my point is simply that you care about politics, but not that much. So,
I hear you.
Applying that to every single part of life. You care because it matters, but not that much that you're willing to
lose friends and hurt people, right?
Someone. You know what I mean? People, if you value people over everything else, then you become extremely mindful of what you say, the expressions that run across your face in a vulnerable moment. You become extremely responsible for how you are showing up in the world. So that's why I'm saying acceptance, love, and appreciation. Everybody wants love, and everybody wants to be appreciated.
Sure.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say is I think there are people, and when I say care too much, what I really mean is identifying with a title and not who you are and what you are as a human being. But a title like Democrat, or a title like African American, or a title like male.
Everybody wants to jump on a team, man.
Right. Here's my thing. Look, I was raised by a team. I already have my team.
Right.
I don't need to add
a new team.
But I'm willing to take a look at my life and say, look, you were privileged. So now you have a responsibility.
If you can, you do. Right?
And we always can.
We always can.
We always can. Life is choices. Life is choices, that's all.
And I think, go ahead.
I don't know if you guys have ever seen the video for A God's Plan, but the guy who's like, life is good.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's it. When he says that,
I cried in that video.
Oh.
I believe it.
You cry in car commercials.
Shut up.
I would give Drake so much props for that, because regardless of what really happened, because I don't know, he accurately portrayed giving, which is what life is about. I mean, I had to applaud the picture, the video. I had to applaud that. Like, it looked like you really spent $1 million.
Maybe we're thinking of a different video.
No.
No, I think we've seen it, baby.
Yeah, I think you've seen it.
Yep.
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't know. You don't look like you watch much TV.
I don't. I don't.
Yeah.
No, the TV's on in the background while we're eating our breakfast and drinking coffee, waking up in the morning, and that's just like the local news, which isn't really news. Like Fox 5 isn't really news. It's just a bunch of...
That's my hour of designated Facebook time. So, like, I spend an hour in the morning catching up on my notifications from the day before.
That makes sense.
So,
scheduling our posts for the day, that kind of thing. That's what we do.
That stuff really does take over people's lives. It did mine in the past. So I'm like, I need to figure out a different system where I can schedule time
when
for
you
Facebook.
say that stuff, you mean social media?
Sure.
Yeah.
People live on it, man, and it's not. This is it. This is us having this extending conversation.
Yes.
The reason that this is so powerful is because you used to do this. You used to have family over and you chill out, and your neighbor would come knock on the door and come, hey, what are you doing, man? Because all it was the landline.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And there was nothing on TV.
Yeah. So he's, exactly. There was nothing on TV because you only had 3 or 4 channels. Which I long for those days to come back.
And then after a certain period of time, there was nothing on TV.
Yeah, nothing.
That's what I'm saying. Just reruns.
Yeah.
Straight up reruns.
Because I remember watching TV, like Saturday morning cartoons came on, and then boring.
Right.
Like, I don't remember what was on, but then...
It was time to go outside.
Then boring came on television, so we went outside, you know what I mean? And I miss those days because not just kids, because people blame the kids a lot, but adults don't want to do shit either. They're Netflix and chilling way too much. They're just staying in, and then they're on their phones. Like we could have the best entertainer here, the best one we ever had, up on that stage having a good time.
Yep.
And in one capacity or other, most people are on their cell phones. They're taking a picture of the experience, and I'm always like, yo, it's live streaming. Just wait, watch it later, I guess.
Right.
Screenshot your.
Here's the thing. Here's where I'll turn it around. Lazy people, or people who are unaware of how much they could be giving to society are the road that exceptional people walk on. So
I love you, Trey.
That
sounds
it sounds horrible.
You just stuck it in my head too, bro. I don't
It sounds horrible. But the point is, you have a choice to lay down, or you have a choice to try something.
Yeah.
Find out that you have a passion for collecting stamps.
Yep.
Because you're creating something, and you're a unique individual. You're gonna speak, and there's gonna be someone who resonates with your frequency. Period. It doesn't matter what you do or what you don't do. I don't believe that anybody was put on the earth with Netflix in their purpose. I do believe, though,
or Instagram or Facebook
Instagram and Facebook are a little bit different, only because it can be something that you use to get people in a space.
Sure.
And I think to some extent, sometimes the commercial aspect gets in the way, and it distracts from the amazing possibility to have somebody on Periscope watching you from a completely different country live.
I mean, look how excited we were about the dragon video. We have a dragon video on Periscope that has like 18,000 views at this point.
Right.
And that's just my dragon eating.
Right. And then
she had 17,000 live views.
Yeah, why we're filming this video, 17,000 people watched. I'm like, what the hell is going on?
And that's the point. That's what I'm saying. There are billions of people in this world, and everybody is going to resonate with who they are. They vibrate where they are, and so it doesn't matter what you do. Just create something, because creating is a different vibration than sitting and watching TV. And I'm not going to say it's better or it's worse. I'll say there's a depth to life, right? So I believe that spiritually, there is an infinite journey that we can all take, and the door to the journey opens inward. You feel what I'm saying? So we could look at a seed and see a seed, like an avocado seed or whatever. Or we could see an avocado tree, or we could see people being fed avocados. We could see the hunger in Las Vegas being cured by what started out as a seed.
Mhm.
But that's depth of vision. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to what the news is talking about, what the media is talking about is quote unquote going on. There's an intentional reason that nobody can tell you how many people were born yesterday, but they can tell you how many people died yesterday.
Right.
So my thing is, there's so much negativity, I let it be everybody else's problem.
Yeah,
And
that's a good plan.
I just choose to be positive.
That's a good way to be.
Every moment that I can make somebody smile, or sometimes I'm just in the mall singing loud.
You've got a great voice too.
Thank you.
For the audience.
I
He
appreciate
comes
that.
on open mic and he sings his little
Thank
voice
you.
out, and it's beautiful.
Thank you very much.
You guys could probably tell by the deepness of your voice. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I will say that my voice has helped me with the divine feminine. Yeah.
And those eyes, probably, for those that can't see.
Hey, come on, man.
Well,
Right?
Sorry.
I am right here.
Gotta explain it to the people on the
They can't
ears.
see me. They can only hear me. So.
Were you raised around a lot of music growing up? Was there music in the house a lot?
Yes. So in our house, cleaning up meant getting the playlist ready
Yeah.
and turning it to an unreasonable volume.
I think we were raised by the same people.
Yeah, you feel what I'm talking
Sounds
about?
like it.
We
Yeah,
had
yeah.
some of the same values. Sometimes it was okay. So if we're cleaning the house and it's gonna take 4 hours, we're getting 4 hours worth of tapes, cassette
Right.
tapes,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
or and we're going to town.
So who's
Yeah.
your favorite music? What's your
Yeah, who's your 3 favorite bands? Like
Favorite
Three
three favorite. Any genre,
Or
just
groups, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so check this out. My number one favorite that I finally got to see in Las Vegas about 2 years ago, Boyz II Men.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's number one. Number two favorite band. Ooh, that's a hard one.
It can be any music. I don't know.
any music.
Yeah. Like if you the 3 you'd have to take with you to space.
Here's what I'm gonna say. My dad took me to a college in Anchorage, and there was a group of a cappella singers that has disbanded since then. They were called Shades of Soul. And they sung a song a cappella when we went to UAA, University of Alaska Anchorage. We went to UAA and I heard them sing and I was like, I gotta sing. This
They
is
were
my
the
thing.
inspiration.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's
Acapella,
cool.
yeah. So they would be number two because Boyz II Men represent so many relationships and breakups that I had. I would literally, I don't know if you ever heard this song.
How's
I've never heard that from anybody.
I had the song "I Don't Ever Want to See You Again" by Uncle Sam, right? So I literally remember crying listening to the song over this girl.
What?
I was probably 14, 15.
Cute.
But I'm just telling you, these is facts.
No, I ain't mad at you. I'm just
These are
teasing.
facts, man. What happened is I won. My brother won. I take that back. My brother won a stereo from the Boys and Girls Club because they did this
That's
thing
cool.
every year called the Bowl-a-thon,
Mm-hmm.
where what you would do is go to businesses in your community and try to get them to pledge money
Sure.
that would end up at the Boys and Girls Club.
Right.
So I was in it, and I got the most money raised out of the history of the Bowl-a-thon. I got this
Holy
plaque.
moly.
I raised $747.
Good job.
And it was a big deal because my mom worked for the state of Alaska, so she took me to the Frontier building back then, and it was like 14 stories high, and she just took me on every
Easy
floor.
money.
Talked to all her friends. Yeah, so it was easy.
All those
but,
people have money.
and I didn't understand the recognition. I'm like, so I got more than anybody else, but the other people was like, 100, 200, if that. And at that point, I was in 5th grade. I didn't know the power that all of these experiences, when you put them together, I didn't know who I was going to
How it's
become.
going to turn
Right.
into a
You know what I'm
grown-up
saying? Yeah.
idea. Yeah. The
So,
lessons we learn. It's amazing.
Yes.
One question we like to ask people, like, how do you forgive?
How do I forgive?
How do you personally forgive? Like, what's your process?
I have a couple of different processes because I have different levels of
forgiveness
of egregious happenings.
Don't we all?
No, in reality, because as I shared with I think one or both of you, there's a time when I suffered from a mental illness. So it's really easy for me to put someone else who has wronged me, to put myself in their shoes and ask the question, do they deserve you keeping the good that could come from you resolving this? Do they deserve to have that taken away from them?
Okay.
And the answer is always no, because I'm missing out on who they are and how they could impact my life, and they're missing out on who I am and how and I'm choosing to do this. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Unforgiveness,
it is a bit,
never serves. It never serves. Not to say that you should always forgive everything and let the person keep coming on with the behavior.
Are okay.
Right.
Boundaries are okay.
But
forgiveness doesn't mean there's no boundaries.
Yeah. Forgiveness is like, it's in the past. Let's move on. Sometimes when I'm playing basketball, I joke with people because they'll be like, "Oh man, you guys won last game." I'm like, "Why are you bringing up old stuff?" You know, it's like we always have the chance to live in the now.
Yeah.
That's very true.
Always.
So, have you there's some other questions. Oh, have you ever done drugs? And if so, what's your favorite?
Yes. So if you look in the whatever that book is. There's a book of prescriptions.
Okay.
Like, so whatever that book is, the majority of the pharmaceutical medications that are designed to help those with a mental illness, I have been on at some point in my life. Yeah.
Wow.
So I bring a certain type of life experience, and so it makes it easier to have compassion for people.
Sure.
Because I've never been a woman, but I feel like I can have compassion for a woman. I think that there's a connection. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that when life takes you by the short and curlies and just, puts you in some interesting, where you put yourself in some interesting situations, right? Whatever, however you want to look at it. You're able to then look at other people and not judge. And even find common ground.
So do you think having mental illness or going through that experience, do you want to talk about that at all?
I would love to.
Okay.
And here's why.
Let's talk about it. How old were you when what happened?
So I was 16 years old. And for the second time in a year, I went to California to a church called Agape.
And you're still living in Anchorage at this time, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So I was 16 years old, and we visited the Agape church as like a teen summit. So different churches, all under the same Centers for Spiritual Living. Back then it was called Churches of Religious Science.
Okay.
Oh, I know these churches.
Not to be confused with Christian Science.
Yeah, no, I know the difference. Yeah. My stepmom went to that church.
Yeah, I believe it. And I believe it because your mind, anyway, you're capable of very deep thought. So,
thanks.
Yeah,
dude. No,
you're welcome. So, anyway, we went to the church retreat. We came back and my eyes were red, and my dad was like, "You need to get some sleep." And I really hadn't slept much. We were gone for 2 weeks. I probably slept 4 of those nights.
Wow.
And I didn't care. I was having a great time because I was so deep into delusion and fantasy. Remember, because we're talking about somebody from Anchorage, Alaska going to LA, and all their dreams coming true. So
right.
Back in the day, there was a designer called Carl Kanai, right? And he made jeans and shirts and all that. I had Carl Kanai shoes, pants. I had the outfit. I had everything that all these people wanted. And there was no internet, so they couldn't get it.
How funny.
And back then, that was what my self-esteem was about. You know, I watched all the movies, Boys in the Hood and all that.
So this was like a dream come true.
So that was
like being in LA.
Like appealing to you.
Absolutely.
Because going to LA for me sucked. But anyway.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Is it Do you think it's because you were raised in such a unique African American family? I don't know what the right word is, but unique.
Well,
but it's also
good.
I was raised in a
Versus
very
what-
intentional family. However, the idea is that if you have some type of musical talent and you go to LA,
You're gonna get
yeah,
stars,
right?
Yeah.
So
okay.
So being able to be in a larger church
Mhm.
and see what that was like, and Agape back then, just as it thrives now, it was thriving back then.
Mhm.
To have my girlfriend come with me later, 2 weeks after I got there, and I had been hanging out with 5 other girls at the, I was literally living my dream. So sleep just wasn't. It didn't seem like it was that big a deal. Like it was not that big a deal. I sleep when I'm dead. You know how people do. So anyway, what ended up happening was I started to have audio and visual hallucinations.
Yeah.
And I believed that things were going on that weren't really happening. So then...
And this is all lack of sleep.
Lack of sleep.
That'll do it.
So I went to the hospital, and of course, they guessed, and they said sleep deprivation. And and my family said, okay, let's get him to sleep. That was difficult because my body my mind was moving so fast, and my metabolism was moving so fast that the medicine that they gave me it went in and it came out. And there was not a lot of help. So in and out of the hospital probably that summer maybe 3 or 4 times.
Wow.
Being diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder and then schizophrenia.
And you weren't using drugs at this time?
No, because the drugs that I was talking about were pharmaceuticals.
Prescriptions.
I've only ever tried marijuana, so.
I don't. Yeah, I consider pharmaceuticals a little worse sometimes.
So they had you on the drugs as soon as you were diagnosed with the sleepy thing. Right?
Sleep deprivation.
Were they putting you on different psychotic medicines then too?
Yeah, because the antipsychotics will help with sleep.
Right.
Anti-anxiety and all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So for years I was, counseling, Section 8 housing. This is actually great. These are actually great things for someone who was dealing with. My brain is giving me one version of reality, and then I'm living in something else.
I understand.
And at 16 years old, I was so angry because I was like, I just made it.
Yeah.
Right.
And by 19, I gained over 100 pounds. So by 19, I weighed 260.
Dang.
And I was the most unhappy that I had ever been in my life. And I was on the meds though, I was taking those medications. And then I would have the summers where I would relapse every summer, and it would just tear my parents' heart out. Just to watch me struggle so much when they knew that I was extremely intelligent.
So what does relapse mean? You stopped taking the drugs?
What a relapse meant was, even with the drugs, the weather made it such that, and still does at this point, like, the weather will have such an effect on my body and my brain that I get sick again. So I've been to Seven Hills 3 times this year. You know what I'm saying? So, which is sometimes why I wasn't here at the open mic. You know what I mean? But these are just facts. You know what I'm saying? So
I'm glad you're talking about them.
Yeah,
it's good. It's good to be honest.
The reality
about
is
it.
That there are so many people who are shamed and blamed and kicked out of families and given ultimatums when they didn't ask. They did not consciously, as human beings, ask for a mental illness.
Sure.
It was thrust upon them, or however you want to say that.
Right.
Because I'm not talking vibrationally, it's a little bit different, like with what I believe it's really about. But aside from the spiritual, if we're talking about the practical, just imagine, like, you're just always in a constant struggle or war with what's really going on, how am I feeling, and why am I feeling that way?
And how am I supposed to behave with it?
How am I supposed to behave? And let's say I want to have an interaction with someone of the opposite sex. Like, how is that supposed to work?
Right.
How much should I be
honest?
How much should I tell them about?
Right. Right.
How much should I expect them to be able to handle? Because if my family's having challenges, my girl, like the first girl I was with, man, that was a wrap. We was over. And it's not like she just quit. It was like the illness was such to the point where she saw me in the hospital and she just broke into tears. You know what I'm saying? Because I was like 150 pounds, so I'd lost 20 pounds or whatever. It was just, it was too much or whatever. And the great thing about, for me personally, being in the hospital is I've been doing this for 20 years. You know what I'm saying?
You're an old pro at this shit.
So I can have as much fun as I'd like to, and I can be as serious and as helpful as I'd like to. So, unfortunately, I do not anymore play games when I'm in the hospital in Alaska is extremely well funded because most people don't know that there is a mental health trust in Alaska. So, written into the Constitution because of the
oil money,
depressive environment.
No, the weather, because of the weather and how it affects people's mind state. They set in the Alaska Constitution, there's a certain amount of land that's set aside for those who have those challenges. So you can actually like apply for it and get money. And I've done that. You know what I'm saying?
Really cool.
So, because of that, their facility up there is like, my dad would not go out to eat if he knew that I was going to ask him to come visit me because the food was that good.
Oh, wow.
Real talk.
Wow.
So he'd be like, "No, I'm gonna go see Trey. So I don't want to eat." The staff. These are the staff are expected to be able to stay awake and watch you sleep for hours upon hours. Like mental health nurses and mental health technicians, they have some of the most emotional jobs. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I can't imagine. Yeah.
Trying to play Sudoku, and just to stay awake.
Oh yeah.
And watch you sleep. Make sure you sleep the hours that, and then they got to document it all. I mean, it's like
crazy prison.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because you can voluntarily go in, and then they can decide that you can't come out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the fear around that and the misunderstanding why those laws and rules are in place. If you don't know those things, it feels like you're being preyed upon. And so it's just, it's trauma being labeled, right? It's trauma dealing with the side effects of the medications. Let's say the medications work. It's trauma dealing with the side effects. Because when you go from 165 pounds to 230,
I can't imagine that.
and your triglycerides are up in the 300s. And so, for me, my doctor looked me in the face and said, "Look, if you keep doing this, you're going to have a heart attack in about 10 years. So then I got to make a decision about being lazy and watching TV and drinking soda and eating pizza for breakfast.
Or going out and doing something.
And I kid you not, that was my life. Every day I just waited for Flavor of Love to come on because it was just
your routine.
I miss Flavor of Love so much. Sam hated that show. That show was pure comedy. Anyways, go on.
Yeah, so that was for years of my life. I ate and I slept and I watched TV. And it got so I eventually just decided, like, I'm just gonna exercise until it's gone. And luckily my two older brothers are bodybuilders, so they helped me with the initial getting into it. And then I started running 5 miles a day because once I got into it, I was like, I can do this. And I used to run on the treadmill and say to myself, I'm a professional singer.
Nice.
And I would run like that.
Not to interrupt, but exercise is the number one thing you can do for your mental state. It's like the best thing because it releases so much natural dopamine. That's why you get that runner's high afterwards.
Yes.
Because it just releases so much dopamine. It's the best antidepressant that there is.
Yeah. And to this day, for me, it's basketball. When I leave here,
you want to play ball?
I'm gonna go, to UNLV, and because that facility.
Oh, you in the summer league?
No,
I'm playing.
Oh, I was about to say.
He said no.
I listened closely. So that facility is open to all members of the community for $25 a month, and so I was like, I want to go there.
That's cool.
What facility? The Cox Pavilion?
Or the Student Wellness and Recreation Center.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
The more you know.
Maybe you can take some flyers over there since you're going over there for us.
Absolutely. I'd love to.
That would be amazing.
I'd love to. I'm happy to do so.
I'm so glad to hear that you found, and so no more mental health drugs?
So here's what happened earlier this year. 3 years ago, I figured out a way to come off the medication without... I was juicing. My mom was juicing with me. I did Insanity, that workout routine, which is freaking crazy. It's perfectly named. So I started juicing. We did that. And the first thing that happened was I was able to take naps.
Okay.
And then I was able to come completely off of the medication that I was taking.
Wow.
Nice.
By juicing. Because the nutrients that we're supposed to take into our body come from plants, fruits, and vegetables and nuts. So,
preach it, brother. Preach it.
all I'm going to say is my personal experience was it replaced the nutrients that I needed replaced the manufactured drugs.
I love it.
So my life completely changed. And...
food is your medicine.
And food is my medicine.
Yes.
So, sometimes I go to, vegan places, or I'll ask a girl, like, you want to go to the Modern Vegan? You know what I mean? Like, let's go sit down and eat. This is my life.
There's
at stake when I'm eating.
Yep.
Right.
There's a mental health study right now just about that to prove that the foods are better than the medicines, and that not largely because the brain will. It's an organism like anything else. It can't snap and you can never come back. That's a fact. But a lot of depression and suicidal thoughts and all those things, they're saying are caused by hormone deficiencies in diet.
Right. Which is lack of nutrients.
Lack of nutrients. So when you're only eating, when you're not eating well, your body's going to have to shut down certain parts.
Right.
And that's just what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. One of the great things, because I want to answer your other question. So I went to the hospital here in Seven Hills. They had never seen me before. And they asked me what the last dosage that I was on.
Oops, sorry.
Because I don't know that they believed that I wasn't on any medication. I don't really know.
Okay.
I remember sauntering in that night. Okay. Because I had never been there. I was, in all honesty, I was afraid because the quality of care for the mentally ill in Las Vegas is
not good.
Very different. Because I would say Alaska's probably third in the nation.
Wow.
Okay.
If not first.
Wow.
Yeah.
But they're definitely third. So
wow.
I was scared to come here
would be too, man.
and give my sanity over to or the care for my sanity over to people I never met.
Yeah.
So they asked me, what was the last medication you're on? And I told them. And they gave me that dose after 3 years of not taking any medication.
Oh, no.
So, as you might expect,
Why?
I lost consciousness.
Yeah, I'll bet.
My blood pressure dropped so low that they had to ambulance me back to...
Jesus, are you serious?
Yeah, because the way mental health works is you have to go to the emergency room to get it's like a referral or something.
We understand.
Yeah.
Well, for the viewers, you have to go to the ER or call the ambulance on yourself.
Right.
And get a referral.
Yeah, you can't.
And you still have to go to the physical hospital no matter what.
Right.
Unless you want to check in, and that's real hard.
There's a lot there. The secret to checking in to any mental health organization, and I'm happy to say this because this is my life and I live it. When they ask you the question, are you having thoughts of hurting yourself or someone else? There's only one answer that gets you in the door,
and
that's yes. Regardless of how you're feeling. There it is. It's a secret, but now it's out. Because if you say no, they're not going to put you in a bed where somebody else's answer is yes.
Right.
Well, that
which makes
sense.
logical sense.
Yeah, it's the triage of the situation.
It just is what it is. So when I said I've been at this 20 years, that was something that I learned.
Right.
So do I really feel like I'm unsupported if I'm out here and I'm feeling that I'm having a relapse? No, I already know where to go and what to say. so that I can be safe.
Right.
And there are those who are functioning highly enough in their mental illness where they understand and can use and sometimes abuse that. And then there are those that are outside, and they may be minding their business. They may get arrested, and the actual officer that arrests them suggests or puts them in a mental facility,
Right.
where they're stripped of their rights
Mm-hmm.
because he just didn't want to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
They was just in the way.
Mm-hmm.
So
Happens to a lot of people.
yeah, and people don't realize that it's your rights that are taken away from
Right.
you. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you get put in there for 3 days.
It's not like going to the hospital until your body gets back to the point where you can.
where you're healthy and can
No,
leave.
it's we are taking you in.
And you're there until the insurance runs out. That's typical of,
Mhm.
of our institutions here.
Yes.
And
Fact.
Which is why we have
that's
some.
why it doesn't work. That's why there's so many people without homes.
It's
because
part of the
they're-
reasons, but my success, it has been 90% my family and my family support. Because my family was willing to say, if you're not going to take care of yourself, we're not going to take care of you.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a sobering, life-changing moment for me. Okay, so if I make bad choices, you guys aren't going to help me? No. Okay, I
That's
got
a good
it.
thing.
I'm
That's
clear.
That's actually good.
I'm
Yeah,
clear, and
yeah.
that's African American culture. Like, we just, like we'll until we know that the person is aware of what they're doing, then we'll be helpful. But if we don't play games like that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's a waste of time. So at that point, years and years ago, when I decided to make it something that I was going to win, then it changed everything. My entire life changed.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
But
Yeah.
how are we doing on time?
We're over.
Oh. Okay, well,
So
let's...
we can stop whenever.
Let's plug...
I just like talking to you guys.
You got anything
I
you need
love
plugged?
you. Thank you for coming on. But what's the plugs? We got to
The
hear them.
plugs.
Well, now that you're willing to be known, what is your
You've
YouTube
got a
channel?
YouTube
What
channel.
is-
I actually do. And it's so old I don't know. I don't.
You don't have to plug
I
anything,
look it
man.
up.
It's just...
But Matthew Alexander. If you search that on YouTube with the name either Larry Graham or Brooke Benton, you'll see 2 competitions that I was in, singing competitions that I was in.
Okay.
That is on YouTube. I've had a lot of videos that I've taken either here and I have not uploaded them to my channel.
Well, Trace's coming out, so here.
Yes, indeed.
Look for him.
Do you want
Yes,
to sing
indeed.
something real quick before we leave?
That's
Just
completely
sing us
up to
out?
you guys, man. That's completely
Well, hold
up
on.
to you guys.
Yeah, you can sing us out.
Okay.
Sing us out.
So, let me give you something that I haven't sung in a while. We gotta get some hope. Let's see. I Believe I Can Fly. Have you guys heard them? Yeah. Okay. I used to think that I could not go on, and life was nothing but an awful song. But now I know the meaning of true love. I'm leaning on the everlasting arms. If I can see it, then I can do it. If I just believe it, there's nothing to it. I believe I can fly. I believe I can touch the sky. I think about it every night and day. Spread my wings and fly away. I believe I can soar. I see me running through that open door. I believe I can fly. I believe I can fly. I believe I can fly. Hey, fly, 'cause I believe in you. Oh, if I can see it, then I can do it. If I just believe it, there's nothing to it. I believe I can fly. I believe I can touch the sky. I think about it every night and day. Spread my wings and fly away. I believe I can soar. I see me running through that open door. I believe I can fly. I believe I can fly. I believe I can fly. I believe in you. There it is.